The Milwaukee Bucks are currently in the position that everyone wants to be in, standing alone at the top of the NBA mountain as they're the 2021 NBA champs. Giannis just won the Finals MVP, averaging around 35 points, 13 rebounds, 5 assists, 2 blocks, and a steal a game, while the second and third options, Chris Middleton and Drew Holiday, came up big when they needed, with Middleton averaging around 24 points, 6 rebounds, 5 assists, a steal and a half on relatively good shooting splits, while Drew Holiday averaged around 17 points, 6 rebounds, 9 assists, 2 steals, and played incredible defense throughout the series. They also have a great supporting cast with the likes of Brook Lopez, Bobby Portis, Pat Connaughton, PJ Tucker, and Dante DiVincenzo. So, how'd they do it? How'd they build a great team around their franchise player Giannis Antetokounmpo? Well, let's find out. Let's start at the beginning. The 2012-2013 NBA season. So let's cast our minds all the way back to the 2012-2013 NBA season. The Big Three are in Miami, and it's their third year together, and they're looking to repeat after beating the young OKC team in 2012. The Bucks ended the 2012-2013 season as the 8th seed, and they had the unfortunate task of matching up with Miami in the first round. Now, who's on this 8th seed Bucks team? It's not a lot of good pieces, to be honest. Monte Ellis, Drew Gooden, John Henson, Ersan Ilyasova, Bahamute, JJ Redick, Ish Smith, Ekpe Udo, and their head coach Jim Boylan, which is a huge X. Don't believe me? Just ask any Bulls fan. So the Bucks finished the season 38-44 as the 8th seed, like I said, and they went on to face the Big Three in Miami. And this is where the infamous Bucks in 6 legend was formed. So for those of you who don't know, Brandon Jennings, who's another piece on this team, which I didn't mention, a few days before the series started, while he was talking to the media, he goes on, he says, "I'm real confident. I'm sure everyone is writing us off, but I see us winning the series in 6. He also said that it's just for the culture, but that's not how it played out. The Bucks got swept by the Big Three in Miami, and they head to the 2013 offseason. So the 2013 offseason, this is really where the championship core construction really begins. In terms of free agents, they only signed OJ Mayer and Zaza Pachulia, who nobody likes really, and they trade for Brandon Knight and a G Leaguer, someone you may know, Chris Middleton. And they got him by trading away Brandon Jennings, unfortunately. They also let Monte Ellis and Mike Dunleavy go in free agency. JJ Redick was traded as well. On the surface level, back in 2013, seemingly a bad offseason, but the Bucks just got their second guy. They just didn't know it yet. But something else happened in 2013 offseason as well. In the draft, something happened.
With the 15th pick in the 2013 NBA draft, the Milwaukee Bucks select Giannis Antetokounmpo from Athens, Greece. He last played for Field Atletikos in Greece.
Now the Bucks finished 8th, and they had the 15th pick in the 2013 NBA draft, and they took a chance on an 18-year-old raw prospect from Greece, someone you may know, Giannis Antetokounmpo, and we all know how much of a great gamble that was. So now we're into the 2013-2014 NBA season. To summarize it really quickly, the Bucks ended the 2013-2014 NBA season with the worst record, not just in the East but in the league, finishing 15-67. This was Giannis' rookie year, and he only averaged around 6.8 points, 4.4 rebounds, 1.9 assists, and around 24 minutes a game. Nothing special. Middleton, on the other hand, only gets around 12.1 points, 3.8 rebounds, and 2.1 assists a game. And it was just really an all-around bad year for the Bucks. Definitely one to forget. So the 2014 NBA offseason, what do the Bucks do? Well, they go get great head coach in Jason Kidd. Because the Bucks were the worst team in the league, they had a great pick. They ended up getting the second pick in the 2014 NBA draft, which was the Andrew Wiggins draft. So at second, who they take? They took Jabari Parker, who was a great player heading into the draft, and a lot of prospects had him as a nailed-on, guaranteed franchise player. And the Bucks took him. Unfortunately, due to injuries and stuff, his career didn't pan out as being the franchise player everyone thought he was. They also traded for Michael Carter Williams, a former Rookie of the Year winner, who unfortunately peaked in his rookie season and has been not as great since. So how does the 14-15 season go for the Bucks? Well, they finished the season on a 500 record, finishing with 41-41, good enough for the 6th seed out east. Giannis improves on his rookie year, going up to 12.7 points, 6.7 rebounds, and 2.6 assists a game. Middleton also goes up a little bit to around 13 points, 14 rebounds, and 2 assists. When they get to the playoffs, however, they run into the Chicago Bulls, and they lose in the first round in 6. In the 2015 offseason, the Bucks didn't really do a lot. The only thing of noteworthy that they did was they re-signed Chris Middleton, and that was the only thing they really did. But it ended up being an excellent decision in the long run. For the 2015-2016 season, the Bucks have another down year, dropping from 41-41. They drop all the way down to 39-49. Giannis and Chris Middleton also continue to slowly develop as Middleton jumps up to around 18 points per game. However, that 33-49 record has them finish on the 12th seed and they miss out on the playoffs this year. So heading into the 2016 offseason, what do? The first thing in the draft, they'd swing on another prospect with the 10th overall pick and take Thon Maker, who unfortunately didn't go on to be the MVP caliber some people were hyping him up to be. They do, however, look into the Rookie of the Year. In the second round, they were able to draft Malcolm Brogdon. And like I said, he ended up going on to win Rookie of the Year that year. Moving on to that, in the 2016 offseason, for those of you who remember, it was a crazy one. So many terrible contracts were handed out that year. And every team basically at least handed out at least one bad contract. For example, the 4-year $64 million for Timothy Mozgov, which the Lakers gave him, that's a good example. That's all I need to know. The Bucks were no different as they handed out a 4-year $38.5 million contract to Matthew Dellavedova, who just came off the finals, who had one good game in the finals against Steph Curry, but that was not deserving of a 4-year $38.5 million contract. Other than that, they bring in Michael Beasley and Tony Snell. That really sums up their 2016 offseason. The 2016-17 NBA season. This ended up being another up year for the Bucks, finishing with a 42-40 record, find themselves back in the playoffs as the 6th seed. In terms of individual stats, Giannis jumps up to around 23 points per game, about 9 rebounds and 5 assists, and close to 2 blocks a game, and 1.6 steals. Both those block and steal stats are his career highs, which is something to note. Chris Middleton has a little bit of a down year. He regressed to around 14.7 points, 3.4 assists, and 4 rebounds. In the playoffs, unfortunately, they run into the Raptors, the Kyle Lowry and DeMar DeRozan Raptors, and they lose in 6. The 2017 offseason, unfortunately, they didn't do anything spectacular once again. They re-signed Tony Snell, they drafted DJ Wilson and Sterling Brown, and that's really about it for the 2017 offseason. Jumping into the 2017-2018 NBA season, the Milwaukee Bucks finished the season with a 44-38 record, an improvement of last season. However, the East is a little bit more competitive this year and they only finished in the 7th seed. This is the season where Giannis really started to explode and people started to know him. He jumped up to around 27 points per game, 10 rebounds, and 5 assists. And his running mate, Chris Middleton, also became a 20-point per game scorer to go with 5 rebounds and 4 assists. Despite this, the Bucks do still fall to Boston in 7 in the first round. Something to also note, throughout the season, they traded for George Hill, and Eric Bledsoe was bitching out in Phoenix saying he doesn't want to be here after every tweet, and he got traded to the Bucks for basically nothing. So the 2018 offseason, this is the season where the Bucks really started to get their supporting pieces for the championship team. They brought in Brook Lopez and Pat Connaughton, both signed to 1- and 2-year contracts respectively, and in the draft they were able to pick up Dante DiVincenzo at the 17th pick, and they also bring in coach Mike Budenholzer to the team. The 2018-19 season, this was Giannis' first MVP season. Behind his 27.7 points per game, 12.5 rebounds and 6 assists, with 1.3 steals and 1.5 blocks, with a career best 57% shooting from the field, along with tremendous defense throughout the season, he led the Milwaukee Bucks to 60 wins to clinch the first seed with a 60-22 record, best in the league by 3 games. Being the first seed in the 2019 playoffs, the Milwaukee Bucks got matched up against the Detroit Pistons, who they swept in the first round, and the Celtics, who they beat in 5 in the second round. Then they ran into Kawhi and the Raptors, the eventual champs of that year. The Raptors had an excellent coach in Nick Nurse, who had an extremely good defensive strategy for Giannis. And what is that strategy? Well, a lot of people term it the wall defense. They had several big bodies to build essentially a wall around the basket to stop Giannis from driving to it. Whether it was Kawhi, Marc Gasol, Pascal Siakam, Serge Ibaka, one of those guys who matched up with Giannis, and they often, like I said, built a wall around the rim, and they often fed Giannis off to the next one when depending on the direction he was driving to, and that really stopped him and slowed him down from getting to the rim because, as we know, Giannis is not a good shooter. He drives at the rim and finishes strong at the rim. So with that wall defense, it slowed him down, and it got better of him, and the Bucks lost that series in 6 again. So in the 2019 offseason, what do? The biggest thing they did was trade away Malcolm Brogdon, which they probably shouldn't have done, but they ended up with the ring in the end, so it doesn't really matter. For him, they got a 2020 first round pick and 2 second rounds, both in 2021 and 2025. They signed some free agents: Wesley Matthews, Kyle Korver, Thanasis, who's Giannis' brother, Robin Lopez, and they re-signed Chris Middleton, Brook Lopez, and George Hill. Now we jump into the 2019-20 NBA season. What may have ended up being the craziest NBA season? Yeah, of course, you know the NBA stopped in March 11th due to, well, you know what, Rudy Gobert doing you know what, and they resumed in the Orlando bubble around the end of July 2020. When the league eventually was restarted in the bubble, the season was condensed, and obviously there were no fans present. When it was all said and done, the Bucks finished as the first seed again, ending with a 56-17 record. Now, despite the crazy season, Giannis did have one of the greatest statistical seasons of all time. He had a career high in points and rebounds, being 29.5 and 13.6, to go with a steal and a block a game. And if you look at the in-depth stats, they really showed just how dominant he was to go along with that. Things such as plus minus, win shares, all those crazy in-depth stats, which, well, I'm not really going to get into that too much, but if you look it up, this 2019 season, you look up those crazy individual statistics, those advanced statistics, you will really just see and get a feel to understand just how dominant he was that year. And also to go along with that, he also took home Defensive Player of the Year the same season. So he won both the MVP and his Defensive Player of the Year in the same season. Crazy. Chris Middleton also had a career high points, field goal percentage, free throw percentage, and rebounds, that being 20.9 points per game, 49.7 from the field, 91.6 from the line, and 6.2 rebounds. So, what happens in the 2020 playoffs? Well, being the first seed, they were matched up with the 8th seed Orlando Magic, who did steal game 1, but really they did nothing after that. They lost the next 4 games, and they were eventually knocked out. Then they ran into an extremely on-fire Miami Heat team led by Jimmy Butler. Similar to the Raptors last year, Coach Eric Spoelstra adopted the wall defense, with Jimmy Butler, Bam Adebayo, Jay Crowder, and Andre Iguodala being the main pieces to stop Giannis, and they eventually did slow him down. But this time, the supporting cast really let him down. Eric Bledsoe and George Hill both had abysmal seasons, and Coach Eric Spoelstra really just coached circles around Coach Mike Budenholzer and beat them in 5. Then everybody was starting to question if Giannis should leave because his contract was set to expire in the 2021 offseason, and he would have been an unrestricted free agent. And what does an unrestricted free agent mean? For those of you who don't know, it basically means that Giannis can choose to sign wherever he wants to sign, whoever gives him the most money, whoever has the most promises for him. It doesn't matter, wherever he wants to sign, he would have had the opportunity to sign after his contract expired. And there were many big market teams that were circling around him trying to sign him. You know, the Lakers, the Warriors, the Knicks, Miami, and many other big market teams were hoping he didn't resign and hoping to get his signature. So after being knocked out by the Miami Heat in the second round, they head into the 2020 offseason. And this is really where the offseason where the Bucks finally start to put the missing pieces together. They got rid of the bad point guards and traded them away for Drew Holiday, that being Eric Bledsoe and George Hill. And Drew Holiday, who we've seen from his finals performance, is a great two-way guard and has the case for being the best defensive guard in the league. At the time, however, people were skeptical because they gave up a lot to get him. On top of Eric Bledsoe and George Hill, they gave up around 4 to 5 picks on top of it. But it was the right trade in the end, as they did get the ring. They also signed Bobby Portis and DJ Augustine, who was later flipped to get PJ Tucker, who was a very, very, very underrated trade. But we'll get into that a little bit later. Now, because Giannis sees that the Bucks are showing some ambition to build a proper team around him, what does he do? He repays their faith and signs a huge contract extension, guaranteeing that he will be a part of the Milwaukee Bucks for a very, very, very long time. And yeah, like I said, that's just Giannis repaying the organization for believing in him and trusting him and building around him right now. Now we head into the 2020-2021 season. After finishing as the first seed for 2 straight seasons, the Bucks only ended up finishing with the 3rd seed in a condensed season, finishing with a 46-26 record. Giannis unfortunately did not repeat as the NBA MVP, but he still did finish with 28 points, 6 assists, and 11 rebounds, with a steal and a block a game. His second and third guys do well. Chris Middleton dropping 20 points, 6 rebounds, 5 assists on good efficiency, and Jrue Holiday averaging around 17, 14, 6 on 50%, 39, 78 shooting splits. So, like I said, they finished as the 3rd seed with their 3 guys doing relatively well. So let's head into the 2021 playoffs. In the first round, they were matched up against the Miami team that knocked them out last year. And this time, Miami got swept very easily, with Miami Stars being completely shut down and the Bucks really dominating the game. Game 1 was really close, but Chris Middleton did hit a game winner in overtime to win, and that really set the tone for the rest of the series. The other 3 games were basically a cakewalk, and the Milwaukee Bucks do get to the second round, where they get matched up against the Big 3 in Brooklyn: James Harden, Kyrie Irving, Kevin Durant. A team nobody wanted to face in this playoffs. And what did the Bucks do? They took them all the way to 7, and they beat them. Now, some people would argue that if KD had some smaller feet or smaller shoes, the Bucks get eliminated and the playoff run comes to an end once again. However, they did what they had to do. They went to the Nets' own arena and beat them in 7. Even though Kyrie Irving and James Harden were injured, they still beat them, and all you can do is really play the team in front of you and beat them. Not only Game 7, but this entire series really was an instant classic. As in Game 7, Giannis drops 40, Chris Middleton drops 38 in Game 6 to keep their series alive because they were down 3-2. And yet, Chris Middleton came up huge in Game 6, Giannis came up huge in Game 7, they beat the Brooklyn Nets and they advanced to the conference finals. In the conference finals, they meet Trae Young's Atlanta Hawks, a very young Atlanta Hawks team, and they lose Game 1. Trae Young takes Game 1, they steal Game 1, and this was Game 1 at home in the Bucks arena. So it was kind of scary, but the Bucks ended up pulling it out in the end. Giannis has a very scary injury in Game 4 where he hyperextends his knee, and it looked really bad. He could have been out for the rest of the series, he could have been out for the rest of next season, depending on how bad it was. That's just on how it looked. However, thankfully it wasn't as bad as everyone first thought it was, and he was able to bounce back very quick. He did, however, miss Game 5 and Game 6, and that's where his second and third guys really stepped up and got them to the finals. In Game 5, Chris Middleton drops 26 points, 13 rebounds, 8 assists. Jrue Holiday drops 25 points, 13 rebounds, and 6 assists. And in Game 6, Chris Middleton dropped 32, and Jrue Holiday dropped 27 to get them to the finals. And who they play in the finals? They play the Phoenix Suns, who took down the Los Angeles Lakers with LeBron, the MVP in Nikola Jokic, and the Kawhi Leonard Clippers. Now, yes, there were injuries in all those series, but we ain't talking about that right now. In Game 1 of the finals, it was a miracle that Giannis even played, but they still lost the first and second games after Chris Paul took over Game 1, and Middleton and Jrue Holiday played terrible in Game 2, despite Giannis dropping 42. So, down 2-0, what do? They fight back, and they fight back, and they fight back, and they don't give up. Game 3, Giannis has another 40-point game, and Devin Booker had a really bad game, and they blow the Suns up by 20, and they win Game 3. Game 4, the Bucks were up by 2 with about a minute left, and this is really where I believe the series was won. So, the Bucks up by 2 with 1 minute to go. Devin Booker tries to lob it up to DeAndre Ayton, and Giannis does something that is just so incredible, so miraculous that he was able to even do it. He was able to turn, leap, and get the block on the lob, and that's really, like I said, where I believe the Bucks won this series. Because if that lob connects, it's a tied game, or Giannis could even foul him on the lob, and it could have been an and one, and you never know what would happen from there. But Chris Middleton had a great game. He dropped 40, and the series is even now. So now the Bucks go to the Suns arena, and they won the all-important Game 5. This was really the big 3 game. Giannis had 32, Jrue Holiday had 27, and Chris Middleton had 29. They combined for 88 out of the team's 123 points, and when they go back home, Giannis just wasn't going to lose. He absolutely refused to lose. What did he do in the closeout game? He dropped 50 points, 14 rebounds, and 5 blocks to seal the game, seal the deal, win the Bucks championship, and he completed the challenge that the late great Kobe Bryant gave him, which was to win a ring after his first MVP season in 2019. And Giannis, in his own words, did it the hard way. He did it with the team who drafted him back as a skinny kid back in 2013, and just has such a feel-good story to it. Everyone the Bucks came to play and deservedly got their first ring. Chris Middleton, Drew Holiday, Brook Lopez, Bobby Portis, Pat Connaughton, PJ Tucker all played key roles in the run and had their own moments. Even Coach Mike Budenholzer, who a lot of people have been slandering, myself included, throughout his tenure at the Bucks, he made the necessary adjustments and the right adjustments at the right times to win. And of course, the main man himself, Giannis, also chipped in throughout this entire playoffs. Also, PJ Tucker, who I mentioned earlier, the reason why I said that PJ Tucker trade was extremely underrated was because Dante DiVincenzo, their great 3-and-D wing, went down injured in the first round against Miami, and PJ Tucker was called up to start in his place. And when PJ Tucker came into the starting lineup, he played incredible defense throughout the playoffs, whether it was on Jimmy Butler, and he played as a good defense as he can against Kevin Durant to try and slow him down the best way he could. Trae Young or Devin Booker and Chris Paul in the finals, whoever he was guarding, they were almost completely shut down most times. And without PJ Tucker, the only other wing guy they have is Pat Connaughton and nobody else really. I mean, they have some young guys on the bench, but that's not guys you really want to be playing in crunch time of the NBA playoffs. So yeah, that's why I say the PJ Tucker trade is perhaps one of the most underrated aspects of this championship core, because without him, I don't think they win. Rated pick up by the Bucks, and full credit to them. So yeah, Giannis and the Bucks, just to wrap up now, take care of the Suns, beat them in 6, and they win the NBA championship, and they fulfill the Bucks legend that Brandon Jennings set out for them in 2013, and they capture the 2021 NBA Finals, and they are the reigning champs. But yeah, guys, I hope you really enjoyed listening to this video, watching this video. I really do appreciate it. Any comments, any feedback, feel free to leave them in the comments down below. Or as always, follow me on my social media, links in the description. Check out all the other videos on the channel. And yeah, guys, see you soon.